How's it going out there, everybody? Hope everybody's having a great day. Welcome to the channel. I'm your tired host, Cash. Yeah, it's been a long day for me, but we're going to do a weekly recap because, hey, that's what the people want. What is weekly recap? Well, I'm going to go over my week of operating a semi-truck in the United States for 7 days or less. This is a 5-day week here. I left out on a Saturday, and that's why I'm not doing my normal run. I talk about the loads I did, why I did them, all that stuff. I'm leased to an 80-20% refrigerated carrier. Sorry, brain's on modem mode right now. I don't talk about the carrier. It does nothing for me. Do that research if you want to do it. These numbers are not to brag. They're not to complain. It's just numbers that happen to me. You don't have to go do it. I wouldn't ask you to do it. I'm not trying to talk anybody into becoming an owner-operator. These are just the numbers and what happened to me. As an example, I figure I'm a pretty average type owner-operator. I like to do the same things over and over. I'm from Minnesota. I like to go Minnesota out and straight back, and that's what this week is. And I'm happy to have weeks like this because I left out on a Saturday. So normally I get loaded like on Friday, normally Monday, Thursday, or Friday are my days to leave out. But had something going on Friday, could not leave out on a Friday. So said, hey, can y'all find me something for Saturday? Because I don't want to sit around and wait till Monday. So got this load, pretty good load. I've loaded out of this place before. It's a place I haven't loaded out of in a while, but it's nice to, go back to some places you ain't been in a while, I guess. So let's break down this week. First load, Minnesota, one pick, two deliveries in Tennessee. One pick, two delivery. Tennessee load, 78 empty miles to go get this, 1,047 loaded, 1,125 total miles on that, 33 degrees, 40,000 pounds, and that load paid $4,000. So pretty good load. I'm pretty happy with that for the mileage and the weight and everything it was. It's pretty good considering, it was like 33 degrees outside that week as well. So that made it really nice because the reefer unit didn't have to work very hard to keep that load cool. This is the second week of November 2025. Just to let you know what I'm going over here, this is what happened to me the second week of November. So we're coming into Thanksgiving. Seems like rates got a little better right then, moving them Thanksgiving groceries around. So that was nice. And then that left me in Tennessee after the two deliveries. So basically, it loaded on a Saturday. First delivery was in Tennessee on Monday morning, and second delivery was like around noon on Monday. And then that finished up the load, and then I dropped down to Georgia, 193 empty miles to go get Georgia right back to Minnesota. So that's what I like to do. That was, like I say, Georgia to Minnesota, 193 empty miles, 1144 loaded miles, total 1237 on that one. 26 degrees, another 40,000 pound load, and that load paid $2,200. So that was the two loads for the week. Minnesota, Tennessee, Tennessee down to Georgia, Georgia right back to Minnesota. Now that's my normal load I do all the time. So got me right back home. So pretty simple math on this week. 6,200 gross revenue, and that 80% of that for me is $4,960. And let's talk about the per mile rates, or excuse me, let's talk about the mileage first. 2362 all miles is how many miles I had to turn to get that. 2191 of that was loaded, 271 empty. So that leaves 11.5% deadhead. So it is what it is. Now let's talk about the rates per mile. 262 all miles. Every mile the truck turned paid $2.62 per mile. Been seeing a lot of people do like a weekly recap ish type video on shorts and Facebook and TikTok and all that here lately. For me, they leave out a lot of the minute things like Okay, you made a certain amount of money. How many miles did you have to run to get that? And when they go over expenses, they leave a lot out. And I leave stuff out too, but uh, to me, the things I would want to include would be number one, fuel. Things I go over. I kind of feel like that's the base numbers, but to each their own. 262 all miles, 210 80%. My 80% was 210 a mile, and that's 283 a loaded mile. So not bad. Now let's go over to variable cost. I spent 1,024 on diesel. I spent 111 on reefer fuel, 50 on DEF, 10 on tolls, 0 on scales, 0 on parking, for a total variable cost of 1195. And those are kind of the base of what I think you should go over when you're doing a weekly recap. Now, if you want to go over your fixed cost, that seems okay to me too, but I don't. So when I get done with this, 4960 was my 80% to my company, minus 1195 of variable cost, leaves me $3,765 left to do what I have to do with, 3765. Now, out of that, you would have to do your truck payment, your insurances. So I see these people doing their, weekly-ish recap type things. And, for me, a lot of these people, like variable cost to me is what you want to help people out with, because that's the unknown. Truck payments, insurances, all that varies so much. That's why I don't include it. And I don't go over like a lot of that stuff, because when you start talking numbers on YouTube, there's a science channel I like watching, and he gets off into some numbers sometimes, and it's just, I just zone out. Like, I can't even imagine, like what he's talking about at times. I'm just like fully zoned out. So that's why I try to make this more about, what I'm going over and why I'm going over it, because I want it to be fast and where I can speed through it, and you'll want to watch it and get something from it and share it and all those things. So that's why I go over what I go over. Now, to each their own. There's no right or wrong. You want to go over whatever, you go over whatever. But for me, variable costs are key, because that's the things you'll need to know. One thing I've been trying to keep up with, but I just can't get my mind to write it down sometimes. But I try to keep up with my fuel economy for the week and give you like a general sense of fuel economy. But it's tough to just go this amount of diesel divided by how many miles I ran, because some weeks I start off full tank and go home on a quarter of a tank, half a tank. My truck rarely gets below a half a tank. I'm one of those people, I like to get fuel as much as I can with doing it the right way, buying it with ifta. But normally, for me, because I run that same lane back and forth, I buy a lot of fuel in like Southern Illinois, which for me is kind of the sweet spot to buy fuel. So I buy, normally I'll grab some in like Wisconsin. I'll go down there, but I, my truck normally not much below a half a tank. It's just habit. I run in a lot of cold in the winter time. I want to keep my fuel levels high. I want to keep plenty of fuel in the tank just in case something happens. You know, just what it is. If I was to get stuck somewhere for a day or two and I got a refrigerated load on, I can always siphon fuel out of my truck and put it in the trailer type thing. So for me, I buy fuel usually every day, day and a half or so. I don't go a lot of days without buying fuel. So sometimes I would leave on full, and then sometimes I would come back on a half, and vice versa. So you can't really tell the fuel economy per that. But I would say, yeah, since we've got cold, like November, probably 7.5 miles per gallon in November with the cold. Now I haven't idled the truck overnight, but you guys know, if you run a lot of, Kentucky, Illinois, Iowa, Minnesota, those are like basically Minnesota, Wisconsin, Illinois, Kentucky. I put on a lot of miles in those states and Iowa. Those 5 states, I put on a lot of miles. So you deal with a lot of wind in those. That, you win some, you lose some on those days. So I would say November was more like a 7.5 mile per gallon. And it depends on the weight of the loads as well for me. But I haven't idled the truck yet overnight this year. Like I said, I took the bunk heater down to -10 degrees the other night. I was in a place where I was like, I was empty, number one. So it wasn't like I had to go pick up a load or I had a load on. So if I would have froze the truck up, I would have just had to deal with it. But I wanted to test it. I do have an APU, so that helps. Keeps the batteries charged up and everything. So I took the bunk heater down to, technically it was -12 outside. It did just fine. Stayed plenty warm, so that's nice. But with all that long rambling, I would estimate fuel's been like 7.5, somewhere in there, give or take. Heavy loads 7.3, lighter loads goes up a little bit, so that's what you can expect, and that's why I do this. I want to give people that want to become owner operators some realistic numbers to achieve, and I'm pretty consistent with it. I've been doing this a long time. I'm not chasing the spot market. I'm not going to run every overnight load I can get my hands on. Occasionally I'll do some overnight work, but it just ain't for me anymore. I like to kind of time out the weather. If I'm going home and it's going to snow in Minnesota, I'm probably going to stay home a couple days, let that snowstorm blow out, and then leave. You know, it's nice to have options. So think of that when you're becoming an owner operator. If you're going to, basically the reason I bring that up, if you're going to be one of these guys that just has to run, you're going to get in some situations you probably don't want to be in. Just a thought. I don't know. I guess I'm out of here. I'm rambling now. So thanks everybody for watching. Smash that like button if you made it this far. Thanks for watching, everybody. Share this with somebody if you think they want to watch it. Subscribe if you're not a subscriber. Think about it maybe. And take care of each other out there. And remember, people are more important than trucking.
Quick, I just want to remind everybody about the Mudflap app. If you're not using Mudflap, check it out, download it. It should be part of your fueling program. It's a free app. Go download it from the Apple or Android store. You sign up using credit card or bank account. No credit checks, nothing like that. No fuel card needed. Get yourself huge discounts on fuel. It's an amazing free app. It's 100% legit. Sign up using my promo code there, and I'll get $10 in free fuel. You'll get $10 in free fuel. Thanks, everybody. Have a great day.